Yo, what is up, guys? It is Julian once again on the channel, and we're going to be doing a story time today, guys. This was absolutely an insane week of my life where it felt like I made like 4 or 5 years of progress in my life in 1 week. Now, I had just finished up high school, just finished up senior year, and this would have been the start of my freshman year had I attended college on a normal schedule. However, I decided to take a gap year and kind of focus on me. I wanted to get a job, I wanted to work, and just kind of save up, do some traveling and that kind of stuff. So I remember I was going to Europe to spend some time in the summer, and this was about a week before I had left Portland to go to Europe for a few months. Now, during this week, I kind of felt weird. I wanted to get outside of my normal routine of things. In my normal friend group, things didn't really feel quite as normal as they should. You know, my friends were really focused on doing high school type stuff that I had been doing over the past few years. Basic stuff, you know, I kind of wanted to push my limits. I wanted to focus on photography a bit more as I had just got a new camera. And so I was posting a lot more shots on Instagram during this time, and it actually caused someone to recognize my work. I had went into a building one day. I wasn't trying to go to the roof or anything. I just thought, I was like, okay, I don't have a drone. I want to get some shots of the city. Can I walk into this building and just try to get to like a high floor and maybe get some shots out of the window? That's what I was thinking, right? So I actually ended up doing that. I got caught in the office. It was weird. I got walked down. That was sort of like my first security encounter, but I ended up posting a picture from the window of that building, and someone actually saw it and it caught their eye. Now, this person was also like an aspiring photographer / explorer, and they had sent me a DM. They said, yo, Julian, was this from a roof? I saw this recent shot. We should try rooftopping. I had told them that it wasn't from a roof. You know, it was just, I just went up into this building, try to get pictures, and they were like, yo, Julian, we should actually try to go on an actual roof if you're down. Now, I was a bit nervous about this, and I've always been kind of afraid of heights, which is kind of interesting. You know, I do so much stuff that involves being next to the edge and stuff and edges of high buildings and places, but I'm definitely scared of heights. And back then, you know, this was before I started climbing, so I was really scared of heights. And I remember thinking like, oh, go to a roof. That kind of sounds sketch. I didn't know if that was the best idea. I didn't know how much trouble I would get in because, like I said, in that office, you know, I'd gotten walked down. I had to talk to security just for being on a floor. So let alone, you know, think about how much trouble you could probably get in from being on the actual roof. So I was a bit skeptical to meet up with this guy, but I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. My old friend group was kind of boring me. I wanted to just try some new stuff. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll meet up with him. So we met up downtown. We met up around Pioneer Square area. And I remember just thinking like, wow, this is it, Julian. Like, you're either going to end up on a roof or you're going to get in trouble or something's going to happen. But either way, from today on, I felt like I was like, this must be some sort of like pivotal moment in my life because things were moving so fast throughout this week. Like I said, it felt like 4 years. So we made our way to the lobby. I remember walking into the lobby feeling a bit nervous as we didn't really have any business in the building. You know, we just sort of walked in. I was mostly following his direction at this time since he had done a bit more research on exploring and that kind of stuff. So he kind of knew how to get through these situations a lot easier than me. So I followed his guidance as much as I could. So I remember we got into an elevator and we were on our way up to one of the floors when we stopped about halfway up the building. Now, I was a bit confused about this because I was like, why wouldn't you just take the elevator straight up? You know, that's what I thought. So he explained to me that no, we actually had to get inside a stairwell. We couldn't just go straight to the roof. We had to walk up some stairs. Now, we got off about the 18th floor, and this building is about 35 stories, I think. So we had quite a ways to walk, and I remember just thinking like, wow, what if this doesn't work out and we're walking up all these stairs for no reason? I was sweating. I didn't know this guy. I was a complete stranger on Instagram, and I was like, wow, like, what am I doing, Julian? So we ended up getting to the top of the building, and to my surprise, there were these two like double doors that were unlocked, and I was expecting those doors to, I guess, lead to the roof. That was like my first time I'd ever really seen like a roof door or anything, and they actually didn't lead to the roof. They led into a machine room, and I didn't know machine rooms were really a thing. Like, obviously, these big skyscrapers, there's a lot of maintenance that goes in behind the scenes, and a machine room was something I just never thought of. I just never thought that, you know, you would need that in a building. But to my surprise, you know, obviously you did, and we walked around what felt like for hours. This machine room was huge. I think the machine room was 2 or 3 stories tall, and there was all sorts of loud fans and stuff running and server rooms and stuff. So I remember just walking around. We were trying to figure out our way how to get onto the roof because we knew we were really close, but we couldn't actually see any light from the roof. We didn't know how close we were. So we eventually kept going around the machine room, and eventually we came across a wall that had, it's kind of hard to explain, but you like crawl under it. It didn't go all the way to the ground. So picture a wall that goes like about 2 feet to where the floor should be, but it stops. So you're able to like kind of crawl underneath this. So we had crawled underneath this wall, and we were literally on the roof. Now, it was a foggy day. It was a cloudy day. And I remember feeling like I had this sensation of feeling so sick to my stomach because I was not at all expecting the view to be this good, I guess, and I wasn't expecting you to be able to see so much of the city from here. You know, you think about cities, you're like, okay, you're surrounded by buildings, but it's not until you actually get onto the top of one of these buildings that you're like, oh my God, you can see everything from up here. It's just the ultimate perspective if you're trying to get city shots, in my opinion. And yes, a lot of people are like, Julian, you could just get a drone, and I agree, drones are awesome. I had one for years, recently sold it, but for the kind of shots we were looking for, we wanted to get the building's architecture in the frame And drones are kind of dangerous flying that close to buildings. You can crash, and it's not really recommended. So for the kind of shots we wanted, it actually made the most sense to be on a roof. Now, like I was saying, I felt sick to my stomach. I remember looking over the edge and thinking, like, I honestly felt like I was going to die. It was such a scary feeling, and the wind was so much louder than I was expecting. Everything was so cold, and it was this like atmosphere of like you're above the city, and it was such a weird experience, and I didn't honestly like it at first. I remember the first few minutes on the roof, I felt so scared. I couldn't even get my phone out of my pocket. That's how scared I was. Now, I've got some footage from this mission. I've got a couple Snapchat videos I'll play just for some context, so go ahead and check these out.
We finally did it. We finally made it. We finally made it. We did it. Look at that view. Oh.
But yeah, guys, it was an absolute insane way up, and we had only been to this one corner of the roof. You know, there was a whole other side of the roof to explore. And this building was shaped very strange. It was a slanted roof. There was all sorts of variation. I actually have like a GoPro file on the roof that I'm going to play here in a sec. But I remember just thinking like, oh my God, Julian, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And is this even worth the pictures? You know, obviously our intent was to get pictures, but I was like, is this even worth it? So I remember if it wasn't for him, I don't think I would have ever gotten into this. And he really did coach me through all of my anxiety that I had when I was on the roof. And I specifically remember thinking like, oh my God, we have to get these shots, because there's these kind of shots we were looking at online. We had seen them trending on Instagram. I guess you could say like rooftop photos where people would have like their feet dangling over the edge. And I really wanted to get a shot like that, but I was so scared to even get near the edge that we ended up coming up with a system. So we were like, you know what, we're going to hold each other while the other person sits on the edge so that they don't fall. And I remember he had his arms like locked around my belly pretty much. And I crawled up onto the edge and my heart was racing so fast, and it was a little bit wet. It was raining, but it wasn't like heavily raining. It was like a light mist, if that makes sense. And my heart was racing so fast. I remember just thinking like, oh my God, Julian, you finally made it here. I didn't know if I was dreaming or not, because like I said, it had been a goal of mine to make it on a roof for some time, but I did not think I was going to make it onto this tall of a building. This happened to actually be the 4th tallest building in Portland at the time. So very tall building, very desirable. And it was a brand new state-of-the-art building. It had just gotten built. So the glass was so brand new and fresh. And it was an amazing experience that honestly set my bar really high for rooftopping, because after that, there was only a few other buildings that I can do in Portland. And to make things worse, you know, I was going to Europe, which I was super excited about, but I was staying in like the countryside in like a small old town. So there weren't very many tall buildings or anything for me to climb. And that very first time I went on that roof, it's like it sparked something in me. Yes, I was scared, but I was also hungry. There's so much of the city that people don't get to see. Only a few workers throughout the year get to go up there. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. I really want to check out more of this. I want to share this with people because it's so unique. You know, most people don't expect this kind of shit. So I remember just grabbing shots and stuff. We stayed up for a while, and before I knew it, it was already blue hour, and it was already starting to get dark. Now, it's pretty awesome being on a roof during the day, but at night, it's not until the city lights start to come on that you really start to experience what it feels like to be on a roof. And this is such a unique experience. Like I was saying, you know, so little people get to experience this. So I was really humbled, and I was glad that it was almost like meant to be, because like he DM'd me, showed me how to do it. He kind of like put me on, and I'd wanted to get put on, and it was so weird. I remember all my friends were like, Julian, you're crazy. You have a death wish. Like, people were so negative at first towards it. You know, people were so disencouraging, I guess you can say, but I kept on persevering. And by the end of that week, I had actually climbed almost everything in Portland. So within that first week, I had done most of my goals on the list that I had. And it was just really humbling being able to appreciate the building up close. A fellow photographer actually had saw that I was doing this. He reached out to me and said, Julian, whoa, that looks awesome. Like, could you take me up or something? And I remember thinking like, yeah, totally. So we took him up. We stayed up until blue hour, and a guard actually came up. We were on the top part of the roof, but he was inside the machine room at the time. And a guard came up and caught them. They didn't know about us. They got in trouble, but we were still up there. And that was kind of like my first, I guess, like real security encounter on a roof, even though they didn't see me. But I was like, okay, this is like a serious game. This isn't something you can really take lightly. And like, you kind of have to be careful with what you're doing, because security, they don't know your intent up there. And I wouldn't blame them, you know, like you're on a roof, that can look suspicious. So I remember thinking like, wow, this is definitely the start of a new world. And it honestly was, because after that, I just kept on exploring. I crossed off most of the tall buildings in Portland, and we actually ended up going to Seattle actually that same week. And we did some stuff up there. We didn't get very much done in Seattle. Obviously, every time you go to a new city, it's kind of like a system shock, and you have to like relearn everything. Every city has its own flavor, and every city has its own kind of dynamic and way to work in it. So we didn't get much done in Seattle, but over that summer, you know, I was in Europe. I remember I couldn't wait to get back to Portland. I was dreaming of going on roofs, and I got back to the city, and exploring didn't really feel the same as that first week. If you start off with the 4th tallest building in your city, that sets your expectations really high. So unfortunately for me, I never felt that same kind of satisfactory feeling that I did during that first week of exploring. Here's the GoPro footage, guys. I wasn't very good at filming or photography back then, so excuse me for the raw format. And if you guys like these story time videos, we'll go ahead and do more. You know, we will do more. Just drop a like, drop a comment. Let me know how you guys like it. What was your favorite part about the story? I also dropped a couple short mess around videos on the channel, so some comedy type stuff. If you guys want to see more of that too, drop a comment and let me know. I'm here to work, guys, and I really want to set a goal of like 2 videos a week. If you guys could drop a like and a comment, that would greatly help out the channel. And thank you guys very much. We're on our way to 3,000 subscribers. I've got some big stuff planned for 3,000. I think I'm actually going to head back out to New York most likely. So let's get us to 3,000, guys. If you're not subbed, it would mean a lot if you could just subscribe. And yeah, guys, thank you guys for listening to the story. More to come soon. J-Down's out. Have a good one.